I have some very esteemed folks joining us this morning. I got Senator Kurt Vialet on the FaceTime. Good morning, sir.
Morning. What's up, Rashidi?
I'm
Glad
good.
to be on.
Hey, good to have you here, sir. And physically in the building, Senator Vialet-Sarauw. Good morning.
Good morning to all. Good morning, Rashidi.
How you feeling today?
Good, fresh.
You feeling
Excited,
fresh?
motivated, yes.
Oh man, I thought you'd come back from St. Croix a little tired.
Never. I'm
No?
an athlete.
Oh,
Endurance.
You still an athlete?
It was something like that.
Oh, okay.
You know.
I remember the athlete. I don't know. All right, definitely, man. And Kurt Vialet looks fresh today, too, surprisingly. I mean, yesterday should have been a lot of excitement over there.
Quite a bit. But we're ready. 1 week to go. Literally 7 days.
7 days.
Including today. So we're ready
All right, that's
to
what's
get
up.
this done on November 8th.
All right, there you go, man. Now, this, just to lay the groundwork for everybody out there, this is a paid segment. We've had a few senators come through. It's general questions available to all candidates, which includes gubernatorial team Fred Miller. We're here already. So same questions. You answer them on a level playing field, and everybody gets to determine what's what. All right, sounds fair?
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. So you've done a lot of things with the youth and Moka Jumbis. How long you been doing that?
Since I was 6.
6. When last you been on sticks?
Right before I had knee reconstructive surgery,
Ooh.
the last carnival we had before this one, that was 2019.
Okay.
2019, yes.
All right. Mr. Vialet, I'm going to a
Yes,
horse
here it is.
track on Saturday. Unfortunately, it's not in the Virgin Islands. I'm going to Gulfstream Park. I'm going to catch up with Kevin Krieger, Scrooge, Fridge. How much do you miss horse racing?
Tremendously. The entire Virgin Islands miss horse racing. It's a sport that we definitely got to get back as quick as possible. It's a sport that engages a lot of young, middle-aged, and older individuals. So we need horse racing back, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to push that medium to get it back as soon as we're elected. I've had discussion with the individuals for VIGL, and it's definitely one of the priority areas that we're going to push. To make sure the resumption of horse racing takes place in a short period of time.
All right, now those are my general get comfortable questions. In hindsight, the horse racing question was a political one, but I was trying to speak to your personal interest before we got started. But here we go. All right, so what motivated the team of Vialet and Sarauw to seek the highest office in the land? Considering that you guys have had long runs as senators, always seem to be prepared on the floor. What was the deciding factor to go on and take this extra step?
I'll let my running mate respond.
All right, Mr. Vialet.
Basically, that's a big part of it. Being in the Senate and having countless hearings, being the chair of the Finance Committee, and realizing that in certain areas we're not seeing progress, not being pleased with the state of healthcare, not being pleased with the state of education, not being pleased with the state of disaster recovery, and the access to a tremendous amount of monies that we have that are not being spent. I just read where 4 congressmen have signed on to a letter in reference to the generators for WAPA that are sitting at WAPA and hasn't been installed for the entire year. So we both believe that we definitely could make a change. We believe that we understand the issues facing the Virgin Islands because of that unique opportunity that we have had to be in the Senate and to be able to hold hearings and be a part of trying to come up with solutions. And we wanted to take it to the next step, and instead of just proposing solutions and recommending and encouraging the commissioners and the directors to do X, Y, and Z, that we will take over the role and we would now become the implementers. There's a lot of legislation that has been passed and needs to be implemented to include WAPA, the hospital board, and everything else. And we decided that it's time to make a change. It's time for forward movement. It's time for the Virgin Islands to be able to utilize the federal funds to rebuild and re-image the Virgin Islands as a whole. So we put a hat in the ring.
All right. Senator Sarauw, same thing for you. Except like you decided to be like the teammate. I am going to join Mr. Vialet in this quest.
I've seen Senator Vialet on a committee of finance with just such financial prowess and one of the most important things in government is to understand the government's finances. If we don't have a handle on the government's finances, then you can't fix roads, you can't fix parks, you can't impact your infrastructure. So seeing that, and then of course we're always prepared. Watching from the sidelines how we've spent 6 to 8 years, 6 for me, 8 for him, acting as super commissioners. We write these bomb legislations, and then we're like, hey, where's the implementation? What's happening with apprenticeship? What's happening with WAPA board bill? What's happening here? What's happening there? So we realized that it was time for us to actually take a step, ask for promotion. We've shown through our work ethic, our success rate, that we definitely can lead the executive branch. And for me, I know chairing disaster recovery as well. I cannot endure another 4 years of no progress insofar as disaster is concerned, healthcare, education, infrastructure, WAPA, energy, So that was the impetus for me, really, to tell Vialet, yes, let's do it.
That was for impetus. That wasn't like your time ran out. I just like the use of the word impetus right there.
Oh.
Hey, so you did a couple of things that I thought was an interesting look on it. You're saying you're calling this a promotion.
Yes.
Okay, which is in a job place. If you do a good job, you get to the right for a promotion. So I get that. Nice perspective. Also, the other first that you did, never heard a senator say bomb legislation. Never has that happened before. What is your most significant accomplishment to date, Mr. Vialet? Now you got some kids that are doing great. You're a principal. You're a senator. Father, husband, so this could be anything for you. A successful horse trainer, this could be anything for you. So what would be your most successful accomplishment to date?
A number of different areas. My 29 years in education, for sure, and being able to mentor and educate thousands of individuals and seeing them come back home, and some of the mainland are doing very, very well. Definitely family is a big component. I've been married for 33 years. Have 2 children that are doing very well. So I look at that as a huge accomplishment, being able to maintain a relationship. And my wife is number one, and children. And, they're a key part of moving me forward, a key part of the campaign. So I treasure that. Relationships overall on the island, interaction with individuals. I get along well and have a lot of respect in the community. So I look at my legacy, and what are people going to say about me when I'm no longer here as an important part of my life. And I always want to make sure that I portray the best to the people of the Virgin Islands. I portray the best to my family. So I look at all of those areas as major accomplishments.
All right.
And I mean, I could go into legislation, but I don't want to. But I passed a lot of legislation. I created the only math science magnet program in the Virgin Islands that is still standing without an additional budget or anything else. So there's a lot that I've been able to accomplish that I got to say that I'm very proud of.
All right. And we have a former Kurt Vialet student right here that is going to get to ask you guys some questions tomorrow on Project 321. So we'll get into that a little more. Senator Sarauw, what about you?
For me personally, it would be one was Carnival Queen.
Hey,
I went like completely out the box, and I proved to myself that I could, whatever I put my mind to, I could do it.
All right.
2 would be going to school on a full Division I scholarship and actually finishing. So many athletes leave here on a D1 scholarship.
Right.
They come back, something happened, they don't finish. But actually playing, not sitting on a bench, training, and that whole time at FAU taught me so much. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to just execute. Like I tell people all the time in a 30-second timeout, when your coach is ragging you up, spit bombs flying in your face, you don't have a chance to make an excuse. You have to go back on the court and execute the game plan. And I find that in politics, I'm the same way. I don't have time to figure out why it wasn't done, why it can't be done. It's time to execute. And so I think you take constructive criticism. You swear you play a good game, and your coach chewing you out, you're like, what?
Right.
So you learn to take all of that and be a better person. So the lessons that I learned in college, waking up 4 a.m, 5 a day preseason training, for me, that was a big accomplishment, leaving this 32 square mile island.
I hope you meant 2 a day. 5 a day would be criminal.
No, we had 5 a day. We had 4 to 5.
What?
Yeah, we had 4 to 5 conditioning. 6 to 7 weightlifting, 9 to 11 practice, 2 to 4, and
Oh my
6 to
God.
9
Yikes.
on the
Okay.
court. Yes, it was 5 for a month. So all of that has actually trained me to be just mentally tough because the attacks during the campaign has been brutal. And I think back on college when I used to cry every day to come home, and if I can make it through that, I can make it through this. So
Alright.
that's a big accomplishment for me.
All right. Now, one of the things coming into this I thought about was Carnival Queen because I feel like you don't really push that to the front too much.
No.
But the reason that it comes to my mind because I was so disappointed. It was early in the Sunstroke Hoop Classic, and they were talking about how good this Janelle Sorrow is as a basketball player, and then she couldn't come to compete in the All-Star game because she was running for Carnival Queen. And on that day when you won, the St. Thomas squad was so excited, so that's pretty dope. All right.
But tell them who was your big baller.
Oh, yeah. Not only was you a good player that didn't come and play because you were running for Carnival Queen, you were voted the best player in basketball on St. Thomas. So that's an interesting story of mine. What would be your platform, Mr. Vialet?
A big part of our platform definitely is education and healthcare, WAPA, disaster recovery. But the two issues at the forefront is really healthcare and education. And we got to be able to intervene in what is going on in education because of the learning loss, because of students being virtual for 2 years because of the 2 Category 5 hurricane, where students went to school half-time or for an abbreviated period of time. We got to remember that for the last 5 years, our students have not had a normal school year. And what has been the particular impact? A lot of studies have come out about the impact of COVID, and definitely we've seen it in the Virgin Islands. So we have developed a plan as to how we're going to hit the ground running and be able to deal with the learning loss that's students, and we also want to do or have developed a plan as to how we're going to try to deal with this healthcare infrastructure, being able to get JFL not open. We're hoping that it's open before January, but the issue of attracting doctors and nurses and just providing quality healthcare to the people of the Virgin Islands. Those are hot button items that we want to address immediately.
All right. One hot button topic that you didn't bring up, and Senator Sarauw, you don't need to answer. It's the same platform. So I'll just keep it moving from there. GERS, what would be the long-term solutions for GERS?
Well, we came up with 2 fixes already. The first one was passed back in 2015, in which we passed legislation that stopped individuals from being able to retire after 20 years, created a Tier 2 system. We literally fixed all of the unfunded mandates, and then the only thing left was the money issue. And I was able to alter the last bill that provided a tremendous amount of monies to the GRS system. It is still not totally fixed, so there's still a need for an infusion of cash. I have legislation where I am proposing to increase the employer share of the government contribution to GRS from 23% to some 29%, which would give them an additional $26 million. The GRS is going to be fine when we switch to Tier 2, but we got to be able to maintain the system until we have all Tier 2 employees. So it's definitely high on the agenda. We're looking at investment strategies. I'm looking at changing the board members for the retirement system. I have subject area experts, individuals who understand money markets and how to invest. So definitely is one of the challenges that we're looking forward to continue to be a part of solving, because we have already started that process.
All right, now one of our problems that, according to many, would be the education system. And as a couple of educators, former educators, what would be your proposals for the improvement of the Department of Education?
So, well, definitely we need to deal with the infrastructure. And once again, we're lucky. We have some $200 million in COVID funds that can be utilized for infrastructure repairs, air quality, mold remediation. We also have that money available for extended summer programs or extended school day, for after school programs, to hire additional staff. So we're going to hit the ground running in terms of making sure that those monies are utilized. We passed some $5 million for maintenance for public schools in the Virgin Islands some 3 years ago. Of the $5.2 million that was passed, $5 million remains sitting there because they have not utilized those monies. So we have already identified what areas we need to address in terms of ongoing maintenance. And we are going to make sure that maintenance is not a summer issue, but it's something that takes place for the entire year. I would like to see the maintenance staff back in the schools, or we remove from the schools, and we literally contracting out everything now. We need to have maintenance workers back in the school that will be able to provide that day-to-day upkeep. The educational, the curriculum we're going to address. We have talked about establishing a Virgin Islands Common Core state standards, where we're able to infuse the teaching of Virgin Islands history into the curriculum across the curriculum. So we're ready. We have a number of initiatives that we are going to implement once elected.
All right. Now, as educators, I always felt like you guys were doing your homework before you came to a Senate session, always prepared. You were more in an administrative role in the latter years of your career as an educator. You were more in the classroom. So from your perspective, what would be the improvements to make?
We need to change the way that we educate, and it's part of our platform, more magnet programs. So for example, if you're when you go when you look at the continental United States and even in the Caribbean, you send your child to a high school based on their track. So their school is known for their math and science magnet program. And another school is known for their fine arts programs. Another school is known for being good in foreign languages. So another school is known for being good in voc ed. So we're looking at identifying schools that say St. John. St. John is probably the perfect hub for the marine science program. So you attend school from 8 to noon or 1 o'clock. We bus students to wherever their respective magnet program is. And then in that curriculum, we develop a marine curriculum. Maybe from 9th grade, you learn about the seas. 10th grade, you start scuba diving. You get your scuba diving certification. 11th grade, you start getting your sea time. You report to the mariners out there. And by 12th grade, you have so much sea time that we should be heading, our students should be headed to taking that Coast Guard test and producing a generation of captains, diesel mechanics, and the same thing with sports. We're looking at a sports hub. Gladys Abraham already has a baseball field and basketball courts there. So looking at, if you're in the athletic program, school from 8 to 12, and then in the afternoons you report to whoever your master class is, if you're in basketball, if you're in a master class for volleyball, what's not, and you have a curriculum of strength and conditioning, technique, dietary standards, watching game video, etc. So that's why we're looking at changing the way that we educate to have more magnet programs of fine arts. If you're on the music track, like again, you have your core classes, and then if you're into, you don't have to be playing the traditional instrument, but if you're into DJing or music production, lighting, creating plays, by the end of the year, that music program should be able to put on a full Broadway show with the students running the lights, the sound, the actors, the singing, what's not. And we're not doing that right now. Right now, our curriculum is requiring to graduate computer as a requirement. These students are born into a computer technology era. My parents are migrants to that era, but they are like natives to technology. So we have to work with the Board of Education to rearrange or to look at graduation requirements, that so many of our students are back down taking these required courses to graduate, and they're not getting what they really, really want to do, and to propel them to actually do what they want to do in real life or in college. So that's another part of the platform that really talks about changing, a revolutionary change in the way we educate.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. I've heard a lot of people talk about, how much money there in the maritime industry, but that was the first time I heard a plan.
Yes.
WAPA. Oh, I don't even need to phrase that as a question. I just need to say the word and let you go. WAPA.
Definitely, and we have had extensive discussion, myself and Janelle. The base rate is a tremendous issue. The base rate is now 24 cents, which is more than any other country, any other state across the nation, any other territory. So we got to be able to drive the base rate down. The base rate is what is utilized to pay operating expenses, salaries, debt service, health insurance, GRS. The base rate has increased tremendously because of the bad deal with Vital and having to pay them back a tremendous amount of money. So one of the first things we're going to do is to sit Vital down at the table and restructure the present deal that we have with them. What we have now is like a 5-year financing deal to the tune of $160 million at 14% interest, which is causing the base rate to be tremendously high. We want to restructure the deal over a 30-year period on a lower interest rate, which would automatically lower the base rate. We also want to negotiate where we would be able to run the propane facility. Right now, Vital is running the facility to the tune of $12 million a year. We could bring on a team of individuals to run the facility for $2 to $3 million and be able to save $10 million, which would again reduce the base rate. We need to get to 100% propane. It's 100% propane on St. Croix. It's about 80% on St. Thomas. The cost of diesel oil is much more expensive than propane. So we have to be able to have all the facilities 100% propane. We got to get the generating units at WAPA installed so that we can have better efficiency, and they also burn a lot less fuel. So we're going to immediately convene that meeting with WAPA, the WAPA board. We're also going to implement the bill that Senator Sarauw wrote in reference to the WAPA board for subject area experts, and we're going to bring on those individuals to change the WAPA board, and then we're going to sit and we're going to go through that base rate, as I just explained before, as to how we are going to be able to decrease the base rate immediately to bring down the cost. And I think it's very doable. I have been researching Vital, and Vital has literally been challenged in every single country where they have installed anything. They have been carried to court, and I'm at the point where either they sit and they come to an agreement, or we're going to challenge Vital and all of the costs overrun for the propane project, because it went from $87 million to $160 million. So if we need to challenge in order to bring the cost down, we are ready, willing to challenge them to sit at that table. We're going to renegotiate that amount, and we're going to extend it out over a period of years so we could immediately bring a lower rate to the people of the Virgin Islands.
All right. What solutions do you have for the state of mental health, and I guess we could say / homelessness in the Virgin Islands?
Services. Right now, we don't have sufficient services. We've been trying to attack it from the Senate. We passed some $9 million. We passed $3 million to reopen the Anna Sove Detention Center, but to turn it into a home for the mentally ill and the homeless, the most severe cases. We appropriated some $3 million. Those monies have not been utilized. We went ahead and we purchased some behavioral health vans here at Charles Howard, and one is also on St. Thomas. And the idea was to fully equip those vans and be able to hire supporting staff that would then go out into the community and serve the homeless and the mentally ill population at where they are. You know, we have the mentally ill population coming into the hospital receiving meds. They're a lot better. They go out and then they forget to come back for the meds, and they go back to the same cycle. So we're going to develop a team where we're going to be able to carry the service directly to them. I have already been in conversation with some mental health specialists out of South Florida that would be willing to come and assist and help to design a program in the Virgin Islands so we could immediately meet the needs of a lot of those individuals, and also to continue to fund the nonprofits that are doing a good job in helping to feed the homeless and take them off of the street. So we're going to address those issues head on.
Senator Sarauw?
No, I completely agree. And what we need to do is also implement the things that we did, the stuff that we did already in the legislature. We moved $9 million for mental health vans, and up to now, those vans are parked up at the Department of Health. Those vans have to go out into the community to service that homeless population, those that have substance abuse issues. We also moved roughly close to $15 million in mental health, anything mental health related as well. The clubhouse is still closed. So we have a lot of, like Senator Vialet said, services. We have to staff up those areas and get a lot of our people off the streets through outreach. We need greater outreach, and we're not doing that at all right now. Those vans have to get back in our neighborhoods and in our communities, because there's no person that's abusing a substance or homeless that is going to walk to Department of Health and say, hey, I need my shot this month.
Right.
You know, it's unrealistic. And when we asked the Department of Health one day, they were like, oh, we're conducting Zoom meetings with them. I'd need to know which person in Emancipation Garden going on a bench to say, hey, I have a Zoom meeting at this time. with my substance abuse counselor or with my mental health provider. So we really have to be a bit more realistic in how we provide those services. And we started with the $9 million for a mental health van for all 3 islands, not district islands, and that still has not been done.
We also funded the positions this year. We spoke to the Commissioner of Health and we said, give us a budget to fund the positions to be able to staff the vans. And we fully funded those positions so that they could bring those individuals online. Last year, we funded like 120 vacant positions in the Department of Health. A lot of the positions were not filled, so there were money in place to be able to hire staff, to be able to staff up those vans. But we reaffirm what we told the commissioner last year in reference to being able to ramp up services. So the monies are there. It is just for them now to be creative in being able to recruit individuals to treat our mentally ill population in the Virgin Islands as a whole.
All right. Now, Senator Sarauw already touched on essentially where you stand with arts, entertainment, and athletics in your question, which really was an offset of education. So we don't need to revisit that. But many talk about the importance of the youth in general. We're going to get you out on this question. What are you guys willing to do to prove the importance of our young people in the community?
I think I've been doing that all my life as an educator. All my life, I have been mentoring, motivating, trying to highlight the importance of an education, and not just academic, but in the trades and every other area you could think about. I'm very oriented in terms of student programs. I run a basketball camp this summer. I'm doing the top 30 under 30, which highlights an individual that is doing well in all different career fields to be able to motivate the younger population that you can do this, you can be successful. We are going to, as much as possible, try to create programs that would keep young individuals off of the street and engaged. We want to go back to the days when you used to play, when you had the basketball in the housing communities. We want to go back to running leagues that are outside.
Oh, put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. Okay. Only because you're bringing back my youthfulness.
Hot Hoops.
Hot Hoops is coming back as soon as the school league finishes this year, which is sponsored by Tim Duncan. And that's for the 13 to 15, 13 to 16 age group, because we see the importance of that as well. Keep going.
We want to make sure that we have those programs designed, because when you have those programs designed that are running through the housing communities, the students or the children get to know each other. So you're not able to create these turf wars because you've been playing against Rashidi in this community. So when you go to school, you already know the individual. You become friends. We want to develop as many after-school programs as possible. We want to get recreation centers reopened. When I was growing up, there was a recreation center in every housing community. You could go and play ping pong, you could play pool. We want to get those areas open. We want to get all of the computer-based centers that are in the housing communities. We want to get a staff up where we're able to provide services to those individuals who are in need of help. But there's going to be a total engagement of students across the board outside of education, in arts and in music, in sports, where they would have their choice as to what they want to do in the afternoon. We also believe that our libraries need to go on a different schedule. Our libraries should be open until 7, 8 o'clock every night. It's no sense for a library to be open at 8 o'clock in the morning when students are in school. So we're going to extend those library hours, and Department of Sports, Park and Recreation, the same thing. We're going to extend the hours out. There's no sense for an individual to be there 8 o'clock when individuals are in school. So we're going to comprehensively look as to how we can engage these students and engage them on a regular basis.
All right. Thank you very much. Senator Sarauw, did he take all your answers?
He literally did. I was going to talk about rec centers. In the end, Rashidi, we have to just show up for them. We have to show up, and we've shown that in the Senate. Only because I'm running for lieutenant governor this year. In the Senate, no matter how busy I am, I've always maintained my position as coach, running from off the Senate floor to coaching, running behind students, leaving on a weekend. One year, actually, Senator Vialet, I was playing Complex. Complex had us down by. It was the best out of 5, and Complex had us by 2. I was coaching, and he was in the Senate, so both senators, and I'm coaching my CAHS team, stressed out. We lost those first two games. Complex needed the third match to win, and my chicken hawks just came from behind. So we won the third match. We forced a fourth. We forced a fifth. And Senator Vialet-Sarauw on his side coaching his complex. I don't know what he knew about volleyball, but he ended up
not
coaching.
as a coach, but he's coaching from the bleachers, which he
was
always
right
did.
behind the bench, like literally. And I was coaching. I was like, what's happening right now? And two senators going neck and neck. So it shows in that moment. I remember that moment vividly because that moment.
Nice word, vividly.
I remember it because there were two senators in the gym. We weren't there playing politics. There was no hoopla. It was just genuine support for our students, our players, our athletes, our scholars. And I could see us just that same energy that we had that night. We have it almost every single time that we show up to games, like the only one in the gym half the time, without any announcement. We're just in the bleachers kicking it. So, at the end, we just have to show up for them.
All right. Now, as someone who I would consider myself friends, and I thought about this yesterday, like I have the rare opportunity where I actually know the four people that were running for governor in this year's election, like cool with. And the one thing that I got to say is that's the one thing that I really, really, really respected about Mr. Vialet as a principal at Complex, being to all those games, all the sports, and I thought it was dope. That's an observation that I would make of anyone. It has nothing to do with party politics. You brought up basketball. I look at this like being a referee. If both sides say your teeth, that means you do a good job. Yeah. Right? This was offered to everybody. Everyone seeking political office this year was offered this opportunity in a setting that was non-combative, that something productive could come from it. And we decided to structure it this way. And we want to say thank you for participating. And with that being said, the same offer was made to Project 321, which was a show that is based for our younger demographic. I have quite a few senators that participated, gubernatorial candidates. You guys are the only team. This is a knock on nobody that's running. I'm just saying you are the only team that has purchased that opportunity to speak to the young folks at Project 321. And he normally has one great question every interview that I'm not going to allow him to ask today because he has his whole time with y'all tomorrow.
Yes.
So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good luck, Mr. Vialet.
Thank you.
The number on the ballot and why folks should vote for you. Go.
Oh, I mean, listen, we're the most qualified team, prepared team, the team with compassion. You can't legislate compassion. You can't legislate care. And that's what we really have. We have shown our work ethic in the Senate. The opposition has tried tremendously not to talk about what we could do, but to cast doubt in the minds of whether or not we are prepared, fit, or have the temperament to serve. We have proven that over the years. We've proven that now. We will not engage in gutter politics. We just want a better place. I mean, our only objective is to leave the territory a bit better than we found it. And we're the most prepared team. You can find us online, Vialet-Sarauw, We're on all of the social media sites as well, Vialet-Sarauw. And we are ready for movement number 4 on the ballot. Senator Vialet?
You yield your time to
Thank
Senator
you.
Vialet.
He's the governor. He speaks last.
I wanted to. I also wanted to mention before we close that I sponsored a bill to address the at-risk population, and it's called the About Face program. It's with the National Guard, and the National Guard act as mentors for these individuals throughout the summer and throughout the entire year. And you can't want to find a branch or an entity that has so many positive male role models. So the program is with the National Guard. There's a second one for individuals 18 to 26 that's called Forward March, that teaches them employability skills and teaches them how to sit an interview and just some basic stuff as to how to progress forward. So the Vialet-Sarauw administration definitely believe in the future of the Virgin Islands, and we know the future of the Virgin Islands is making sure that young individuals are practically trained, career ready or college ready. So we're going to focus on that. We ask you to look at our legislative record. look at our record before the legislature and make that determination as to whether or not we were successful in the job that we held. Like I always tell individuals, I've never failed at a job, and I don't intend for this to be the first job that I'm going to fail in. So we're asking for you to vote for the Vialet-Sarauw team, push number 4, Blabin number 4, come November 8th. We want to thank all those individuals who have gone out and already voted. We encourage all of those who have not voted yet to make sure that they vote on November 8th and they support the Ready for Forward movement team, which is a team that is ready to move the Virgin Islands forward. Vote number 4.
All right. Again, if you're looking at this, I think we all could get along, and y'all might get mad at me for this, but somebody yelled from the bleacher side of your group, Nashidi Tiefin! And I thought this was a great interview, so thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, there's an app for that.
It's called Vivid Streaming, and you can download it in the app and Google Play Store.